So, we are discussing about map framework. Map framework is used to manipulate tables. Table is a collection of objects, and we have discussed about the Java supports, and then map framework is there. The map framework include many interfaces and classes. So, today in this lecture we will try to cover one important class which is called the HashMap class. So, today we will discuss about the concept of mapping using HashMap, and then using this HashMap how we can create a table of our own, and then we can perform many operations on this table. So, these are the basically topics that we are going to cover. Then other classes, those are defined there in Java map framework, will be discussed in the next lecture video. So, let us start about the map framework for the recapitulation. As we have discussed about many classes are there, namely enum map, hash map, then tree map, and then linked hash map. Those are the basically useful classes for managing tables, and today we will discuss about hash map class. Now, so far this class is concerned, we have to learn about what are the different constructors, those are defined in this class, so that we can use them to create the objects. Here object means the container object or collection object, that means tables. And then finally, we will learn about what are the different methods are there by which this table can be manipulated. So, this is basically our learning objective. Now, there are 4 constructors defined in this HashMap class. I have listed these 4 constructors in this table, and this is a default constructor. So, it basically create a table with a default size, it is 11. And then there is another constructor which can be created given a map is already known. So, if you pass an input as a map, then a new map will be created using these constructors. Now, this constructor is basically you can specify what will be the size of the table that you want to store. Sometimes it is required for your better performance that we can specify the size, so that memory will be occupied for you at one go. So, this is the capacity that you can mention. Now, another constructor is there. In addition to the capacity, we can say the field ratio. Now, this collection can grow dynamically like other collection object that we have studied while we are discussing about Java collection framework. So, the field ratio say that if it is already filled for the quota, that is the capacity is defined, then for automatically growing, so how much extra that thing is there. So, it basically mention here that it basically field ratio will tell you that if it is already occupied by the capacity that you have mentioned, then the default capacity is basically 16. I told that 11, it is not that 11, it is 16, and then default field ratio is 0.75. That means whenever 15th or 16th records are already filled into the table, then it automatically increase this size by 75% of this total size of the table. So, if it is 100 at the moment, then extra 75 will be added into the table. So, 175 will be the new size or new capacity of the table at the next growing. So, these are the different constructors are there. Now, let us see how the table objects can be created using this constructor. Now, before another important thing that you should note, that there is no any special method which is defined in HashMap. All the methods which are defined there in abstract map, that abstract map is basically abstract class which basically inherits all the methods, those are there in map interface, and then HashMap implements all the methods, those are basically declared in the map interfaces basically. So, there is no extra method other than the methods, those are there in the map interface basically. Now, let us see how we can create the HashMap objects and what is the syntax and then programming for this purpose. Now, let us consider this is a simple program. This program is basically gives an idea about how a HashMap can be created. HashMap actually is a table that we can say, right? And now HashMap just a table, it should be defined with two generic class or objects, right, as a arguments. So, here double is the one argument and string is there. So, this basically is the defined to all key, that means all key are of type double, and here all objects are of type string. So, there is basically mapping between the key values to the object, and then this basically we call the constructor, the default constructors for this class, that we have to create a default table initially whose size is 16. Now, here we can add few elements, rather objects, into the table. Initially when we create this collection, it is empty because we do not pass any initialization elements into this collection. So, it is initially empty. Now, we can add one object at a time, and it is an example that I can show you. So, for adding objects into the table, the method that you can consider is called the put method. So, put method should be called for this collection, it is called the HMap with two elements values. One is called the what is the key value and what is the object. So, here OK is the objects and then key value is 200 and like this. So, what we have done is there 4 objects are added into the container HMap. HMap is basically HashMap collection or rather a table. So, what we can say that a table consists of 4 objects, OK, see other, not found, internal server error, and these are the key values are there. Now, internally this HashMap is basically generate hash code for each object whose key values is given there and map to this object. So, it will basically store, here is basically in the table where the records are stored here, here the object like string objects, and then H is basically given key, then it will tell in which location the key object, this object k is stored. So, this is basically the object whose key value is k. So, this is this way it is basically the one to one what is called the mapping, and this is the fastest mapping that is possible compared to the binary search tree or trivial mapping that we have discussed in the last class. So, these basically key values are used to generate the hash code, and then it basically used to tell that in which memory location a particular object is stored there. So, this is the concept that it is followed here, and we have generated the hash map collection is a table containing few objects, it is there. Now, here again I can print using a simple print method by which all the objects can be printed. You can run this program, you can see how the table can be printed using this print method, simple println method as it is mentioned here. So, this is a simple program and it is easy actually. You do not have to bother about how hashing takes place, what is the mechanism it is followed there, everything is taken care by the HashMap class. Only you just go on adding and you just call the different methods to serve your purpose, your task actually. Now, let us consider few more example illustrating few more methods which are important there. Now, in this regard I just want to tell about any type of what is called the map table can be created by calling this map interface as a method. This is also an alternative way you can do it also there. Earlier you can replace the constructor using this also, it will work. That means, here it is not necessary to write HashMap, you can like this one. Actually, this is the same procedure that you can call for other that is a other map container. For example, tree map, you can write map this one, here only tree map can be replaced, or it is a linked hash map or navigable map, whatever it is there, basically the same. Their methods are different maybe, but the idea of programming is basically same, and that is why the unique idea it is there. Only difference is that HashMap stores the different objects not necessarily in sorted order, whereas sorted map store all the objects in the sorted order of their key pairs, and linked HashMap is basically follow the link structure, tree map follow the tree structure. These are the different internal what is called the arrangements. We do not really, as a programmer point of view, do not have to bother anything about how they are taking there, but it is the different what is called the procedures, the different concept, the different mechanisms are used to to facilitate the different what is called the way, something is very fast, something is not so accurate, whatever it is there. So, those things are different, but at the beginners level only knowing the different ways to create the tables is important. That is what we are basically trying to do it in this video lectures. Now, let us see other examples, so that we can learn little bit further few things here, and this is another example which basically what will happen if you attempt to add a new objects, but having the same key values. As you know, it should not allow the duplicate key values to be there in the table. So, in fact, if you do that, it will not report any error or any exception, rather it will override the initial entries by the new entries. So, if you add any duplicate values, the previous elements will be overwritten. Now, here is an example that you can run and you can check this program, and this example basically HashMap with duplicate entries, and again we create the container here. The container has the two attributes. So, key will be defined by type integer and object of type string, and here we add objects like this one. So, this is the key value, this is the objects 200, 300. Now, here you can see we add one more objects whose key value is same as this one. Then what will happen? Then this basically will be overwritten by this one. So, this entry will not be no more, rather you will obtain this one. So, if you have the print, then you will see that this will not be printed, rather all these things will be printed, will be displayed on the screen. So, this basically duplicate key values, if you add an object with duplicate key values or same key values, then the last entry will exist, all other previous entry will be, the previous entry with the same key value will be overwritten or replaced. So, this is the idea about that how the table can be created. Now, let us see other things, that how we can remove or we can access, what are the different other operations can be done. Now, this is the one example which basically gives an idea about how we can add already existing on map tables into the new tables. Now, here this example basically making a copy of a table into another table like. Now, this example basically create a HashMap, let it be HMap1, this is the initial table and initially it is empty, and then with these few statements we add few objects into it, where you can note that key is of type string and then object is of type double, and these are the different objects that we have added here. And here you can note that we cannot write the float here, we have to create the object, because this is the object it is required here. Okay. Now, so these are the different what is called the entries are made into the initially empty table it is there. Now, so after this table is created, we can print to see exactly how the table is created. Then you just create another table, let it be HMap2, but we want to create this new table taking all the entries that which already having in the HMap1. So, what we can do is that when we use this constructor, then we can pass the previous map as an argument to this one. So, this means that HMap2 will include all the elements which are there in HMap1, and it will automatically decide its size depending on what is the size that is given as an argument. And then the new, you can add again few more entries into HMap1, or you can add few entries into HMap2 as you have declared here. So, this addition will go to the HMap table, might not come to the HMap2, but here this addition will go to the HMap2, that means the container will grow, it is there. So, this example tell that how a table can be created having another table at the hand. Now, let us consider few more operations related to a table. We have understood about how that different objects can be inserted into the table. Now, here again we will see exactly how a particular objects can be accessed from the table. So, for this purpose there is a method called get method, which is basically more useful, and here is an example that you can check it. So, this basically create a map, the name of the map is here HMap, and this is the objects are added into the table, and here we just see you call the get method. So, get, and then the get method can be called either giving a key values or giving object. So, in this case we call this giving a key value, because in this case this is the key value, and then it will return what is the object. In this case this is the object. So, it will return this basically suppose the balance for each employee or each person, and it is written there. So, we can again put method, what basically we can modify it also, or you can change it, because here if we call put method for the same object John Doe, so what will happen is that it will basically overridden by this with the new value. So, balance plus 1000, that means this will be incremented by 1000 and the new value will be added into this one. So, this basically put method can also be used as a replacement method also. So, this is an example, you can say this mainly the get method by which you can access a particular record that is there in the table. If it does not have any table, then it will just return null. Now, again if you can pass the key value also, we have in this case we have passed the key value, alternatively we can pass the object also, and then you can call this get. In that case it will return the key value also, vice versa. So, this method has the many overloading operations, it is there. Now, let us consider another example. This example related to how we can delete a particular object from a entry, and regarding this removal of objects from a map, there are many methods are known, and here we have listed few methods actually. The remove method, here this method can be called if we pass the object, let the object be k. So, given an object as an argument, if we call this method, then that particular object will be removed from the table. Now, remove both object k and object v is basically removed in between the k and v will be removed. So, it is basically the mass removal we can say, and it basically return true if the removal operation is successful. In this case it will return the object if the it removes successfully a particular key value it is given there. And here replace also, it is we have learned about how using put also it can be done. Alternatively you can use the replace method also, by which you can pass the key values and then old value and the new value. That means if the old value is there matches, then it will be replaced by new value provided that key matches there, and it return true or false depending on whether this replace is successful or not. There is another also, this is the default, that is also it can return by key by the v value. That means a particular key and v has to be passed, so that replace can replace these objects and then it return what is the object that it has replaced. So, there are the different what is called the polymorphic methods which you can use in order to perform the removal operations. I will give a very simple example to understand about it. For other you can repeat the same with the different invoking the different methods in your program as a practice. Now, let us see an example how it can be used it. Okay, so these are the basically usefulness of this. I have given a little discussion about different methods, how they work actually, and what is the difference between one method to other, because they are all replace or remove method like. Now, let us see some examples so that we can understand the use of removal method in a particular program, and this basically the program illustrates how the remove and replace method can be called for a map container. Now, here we first create a map, and here the type, the key value of type string, and then object is of type double, and here are the basically usual method we have used basically to create the container or initialize the container we can say, and here the remove method we have called, and we pass the key, here key is the Jane Baker. Now, if it founds it basically return the val, that is basically objects it is there. So, okay, so in that case the double is the object it is there. So, if it is found it is there, otherwise it will return null. Now, here if v not equals to null, then it basically gives a message that you can just practice, run this program, you can check it. Here we call the remove method for other one instance, this is the key value, and also we passed it. So, if both are matches, then only this method will successful to remove it. For example, here as you see this is basically matching, so it will there. If you change this value by some other value and call this, you will see that it is not possible. So, in that case it will return null actually. And so, these are the simple example. Here is another example. Here this basically it will give you a failure case of removal, because it does not match this one, it although matches this one, it does not match. So, whenever you call this method with two arguments, both are to be matched, then the operation will be successful. So, this example tell how the remove method is removal operation can be done from table. The replace method also you can call, and accordingly you can practice. Then other different versions of the replace and remove method also can be practiced in the program. You please try to do yourself. Now, we will give that how a collection can be viewed. It can be viewed as a set, and the different methods are there again to access a particular element. As I said, that get method is there, by which you can retrieve a particular object. There is basically key value, if it is given, then it will return the object is basically get or default. So, whatever the value it is then, and then default value if it is there, if it matches then it will return. The hash code we have defined. Is empty is basically to check that whether collection is empty or not, whether particular table contains a particular value which is passed as argument to take it, it can be used this method. Size is basically to indicate that what is the present number of elements or total number of objects stored in the table, that size method can be called for that purpose. And then collection basically it gives you to see all the elements which are stored there in these objects. Now, let us quickly have some examples about the application of these methods, that is called the view of a collections or map container. Now, let us consider this is the one simple program. In this program we just see exactly how the different elements or objects can be accessed from a table. Now, here we create a table, the name of the table HMap, initially it is empty, whose key value of type string and object is of type double. Now, here we just initialize the table with few objects in it, it is just previous examples there. Now, here the get method we pass the key value, so it will search the entire table, and then search will be very fast, it is not that one by one, it just HashMap will take their own mechanism to hit to the table and then get the elements, it will return the value that it basically has, then John Doe it is there, it will return this value. So, balance will be there. If you print this balance, you can see this value is returned successfully. And then the put method, it basically replace this method, and then after replacement you can find this one. So, it is basically retrieving cum modification that we have discussed. Let us consider few more example in this line to understand this concept better. Here is another example. In this example, what we can see the different other methods like size, is empty, and those other things it is there. So, in this method exercise the different other method, you can write this program and continue to call the different methods that those are there in the HashMap class, and then check it, absolutely it will work. You have to create the map container and then apply the method, and you can see the result. Getting the result is very simple, just simply put system.out.println, and then whole the container can be printed, a particular record can be printed, whatever the way you can print, you can see the result. Now, here is another example. This example first create a container, there is a key pair, the key is of integer and then object is of type string, and this is basically the different way that we can create the table actually. So, the table is created, and then we can call is empty, that means the table is created. If we call this method before this one, we could that is empty is true, then it basically true, then it will give that empty. Otherwise, it will print the entire collection, that means all the objects those are there will be printed by this statement. And then size also, how many elements are there, so size can be printed here. Then size is basically present size of the container is 4, you can see there. And then again you can again call the remove method, replace method, get method, all these things into to learn much more about it. And then again you can call size, you can see that size is changing automatically, and then it is initial size is 16, you can go on adding 4 more method, you do not have to bother about size, memory will be automatically allocated in a runtime manner. So it is so good for programmer actually. So you just go on doing, and many things those are required for the management point of view, it is automatically done at the back end, you do not have to bother about it. So it is, that is why it is so good, efficient, and then best mechanism to support the programming and to develop application. Now let us consider few more examples in this direction, and we will just consider about traversing a collection. We have a very raw method of traversing. Traversing means visiting all the elements which are there in the table. So there are many ways the traversals can be done, and mainly the traversal that can be done by means of few methods which are defined in the map interface and ultimately implemented in the map HashMap class. So these are the key set, is basically give you all, is a set of all keys those are there in the table, and then values is basically give you set of all objects those are stored in the table. So a table stores everything, the key values as well as objects. So now key set can be used to get the set of all key values, and then entry set is basically return a set view of the mapping, that means it will give you the key and then objects, both the things are there. And then there is a traversal called the for each method we can use. We can use the iterator method also, but iterator method is not defined for the map framework, but we can use it little bit customizing this one. But best idea is that for each and lambda expression by which the each elements, each objects in a table can be traversed and can be printed or can be displayed or can be streamed into some other collections or like this one. Now let us have some example so that we can understand about how this method can be exercised and can be utilized in program. And here is one simple program. This program create a map, the map is called map country codes, is of HashMap type. We initially create the table entering some elements which are there, and then here you can see set codes. We basically create a set object we will discuss in details when we will discuss another data structure set in in the next modules. And so set is basically to store the collection of all the elements as a set. So it is basically set, and the name of the collection is called set codes, is basically called the key set method for this container map. So map country codes dot key set. So it basically gives you all the key values those are there in this string. So namely all these things will be stored in this collection set codes. If you can give the print system.out.println set codes, you can see that all these value will be printed. So whatever be the size of the table, it is not an issue, you can get the key value and then you can process, you can perform sorting and so many other manipulation that is required, you can have it. You can store them as an array or array list, whatever the other vector, whatever it is there. Now there is another way of traversing, it is called the iterator. So we can just create an iterator in virtue of another method is called the set codes. Set code is basically our code that we have created. So create an iterator for the set code. Now you can see we can do the iterator not for the table, because iterator cannot be used for the table, but we can use for other collection, here set collection. So we can use it and then we can see. So this basically print all the country codes that is there using this traversal actually. So it is traversing indirectly that container, but using the set of a particular elements. The same thing also can be applied to the other type object also. So, we can set codes or the set objects, and then we can get the get object, and then we can use it. So, get object method we have discussed earlier. So, this one. Now, let us see another example, so that we can explain this concept better. And here is the another example, that is basically we can have the set of key values and then set of objects also. Now, so in order to have the set of object, the method get value, and set of key, if you want to access it, then method is get key. That is the two methods are there. Now, this example basically is a continuation of the previous program. We create so it again values is basically gives everything. This basically gives set of key values as well as objects, and then the for each can be used to traverse all these objects here. So, it is indirectly visiting the container class. Then again we can you can contain them as a set also. We create a set of entries like, and then entry set, that means all key values and then object can be stored there. And then we can use the for each method to print all the elements those are there. So, there is again another for each, and this is the basically lambda expression by which the entire collection can be printed. So, there are different way the table can be traversed, we have illustrated, and I advise you to run this program with your own understanding, and then see the results. You will be better understand how these codes are working for you. There are few more bulk operation. Bulk operation means at a time if we can call a method get key, get value, in that sense they are bulk operation, but few more bulk operation that needs to be discussed. It is called the, in this example we have discussed one is called the clear. You can understand what it does. It basically clean the entire entries in the table, and put all, this method basically copies of all the mapping from a specified map to this map. So, put all basically if we want to make a copy from one map to other map, you can use the put all map also. It is basically just merging, you can say merging two tables into one table like. Now, let us see some examples so that we can understand this concept better. And here is an example which basically explain the usefulness of put all method and then clear method that we have discussed. So, this example here we can just create a table, enter few objects into it, and this basically you see merging. So, here the merging operation is takes place, how the using put all. So, there is a one map, it is here, this map, and another map is created. So, this map will be merged with this map. So, new map will be added with this one, and then if you call clear, then all entries those are there in this container will be removed permanently, and then if you call this method, you can see that it is now empty. So, this basically is told some bulk operation that can be applied on the HashMap object. Okay, so this is the topics that we have discussed about. We have learned about HashMap. Other the classes that we have to cover are namely tree map, and then linked HashMap and sorted HashMap. We will discuss in the next video lectures. And for your understanding and for reference, you can follow the link that I have given here. So, these are the link that you can search, and you can get many more materials here, and this book also you can consult, where good discussion about all those interfaces and classes you can find it. Okay, thank you very much.